Hey there, before we get started, I want to encourage you to follow S News so you don't miss this video or any of our future updates. Alright, let's jump right in. Create a YouTube video using exactly this script. Make your video 10 minutes long. Make the old man's gruff voice appear throughout the video. Please do not add any text. In a highly coordinated and deadly joint military operation, Iran and Syria launched a targeted missile strike on one of Israel's largest naval bases located along the coast in Haifa. The attack lasted less than 15 minutes, but caused massive destruction. Reports say around 900 Israeli Navy soldiers were killed. 15 advanced warships were completely destroyed, and the estimated damage reached nearly 300 trillion shekels. The surprise attack happened in the early hours of the morning, specifically between 12:10 a.m. and 3:24 a.m. local time. 8 ballistic missiles were fired from southwestern Iran, followed by 3 more launched from Syrian military bases in Latakia and Tartus. These were high-precision radar-evading missiles with powerful explosive capabilities, making Israel's air defense systems around the base almost useless. The main target was Haifa Naval Base, a strategic hub for the Israeli Navy used for surveillance, submarine deployment, and controlling combat fleets in the eastern Mediterranean. The first missile struck the main dock, which was packed with frigates, patrol boats, and submarines preparing for operations. 3 more missiles hit a control center, a communications hub, and a fuel storage facility. The final missile came from an Iranian drone and struck the main command center, sparking a massive fire and total structural collapse. Initial data shows that most of the 900 casualties were from Israel's Northern Naval Division and Underwater Operations Command. Over 300 more were seriously injured and are receiving emergency treatment. In total, 15 military vessels were destroyed, including 3 German-made Dolphin-class submarines, which were key assets in Israel's submarine fleet. Also lost were 5 SAR-5 and SAR-6 class frigates, as well as 7 high-speed patrol boats and multiple anti-ship vessels. Debris from the attack is still visible floating or sunken in Haifa's harbour. Thick black smoke continued to rise from the wreckage for more than 6 hours after the strike. Israel's Ministry of Defense said the initial loss exceeds 300 trillion shekels due to the destruction of billions of dollars worth of combat ships, damage to advanced navigation and command infrastructure, the loss of 6 months' worth of naval logistics supplies, and the deaths of hundreds of highly trained personnel who would take years to replace. Strategically, this is a major blow to Israel's dominance in the eastern Mediterranean, a region critical for military operations in Gaza, Lebanon, and surveillance over Syria. According to Iranian military sources, the strike was a calculated response to a recent Israeli air raid in Syria, which destroyed a military command center in Katana and killed several Iranian military advisors. Syria's state news agency called the missile strike a legitimate act of self-defense against growing Israeli military threats. However, some analysts believe this is about more than just revenge. This operation shows that Iran and Syria are now capable of launching highly coordinated cross-border missile strikes, marking a major shift in resistance tactics against Israeli military power. That raises the big question. How did Israel's air defenses fail? The Iron Dome and David's Sling systems are among the best missile defense systems in the world. But this attack came from multiple directions at once, using missiles equipped with radar jamming tech and unpredictable flight paths. It's also suspected that decoy drones were used to disrupt Israeli radar systems. For now, Haifa looks like a post-apocalyptic coastal city. Smoke still lingers over the destroyed harbour. Thick smoke was still rising from the wreckage of the burned-out ships. The seawater had turned black and oily from diesel, ship fuel, and metal debris. The sound of ambulance sirens, rescue helicopters, and the cries of soldiers' families echoed along the docks. Several badly burned bodies were found floating in the water, while others were still trapped inside the wreckage of a half-sunken submarine on the western side of the port. What remained of Israel's naval search and rescue teams had been working non-stop since 12:40 a.m., desperately looking for signs of life, even though hope was fading fast. Police dogs were deployed and heat-detecting drones were flying low over the still smoking waters. The death toll had already reached nearly 1,000. The Israeli government immediately set up emergency tents outside Haifa Medical Center. Identifying the victims was slow and difficult, since many bodies were either burned beyond recognition or torn apart by the blasts. The army established a temporary cemetery in the Ein Hod Hills, just a few kilometers from the site of the attack. Families of the victims started arriving from across the country, bringing photos, clothing, and medical records to help with identification. It was a heartbreaking scene. One mother fainted when she saw her son's name on a list of 300 unidentified bodies. Now the Israeli military is in crisis mode. The IDF command in Tel Aviv immediately activated top-level emergency protocols. The Southern Fleet was ordered to take over operations from the devastated Northern Fleet in Haifa. Meanwhile, the aircraft carrier Yanis Herzliya, which had been heading towards Cyprus, was redirected to Israeli territorial waters. But, the bigger concern lies in the harsh reality. Most of the senior officers from the Northern Fleet were killed. The chain of command has collapsed. Israel's underwater communication systems were severely damaged. Navigation systems along the northern coast were badly affected, especially after a key transmission tower east of Haifa was hit. The civilian port of Haifa, located right next to the naval base, was also impacted. 2 cargo ships that had just docked were heavily damaged. Some containers caught fire, others sank. Supply routes from the port to northern Israel were completely shut down, including food, medicine and industrial goods. The Tel Aviv Stock Exchange plummeted 8% in a single day. The Israeli shekel also fell sharply against the dollar. Analysts warn that if the conflict drags on, a second economic crisis could be around the corner. Tourism in northern Israel is now completely paralyzed. Hotel bookings have been cancelled en masse. Foreign airlines are suspending flights to both Haifa and Tel Aviv. In New York, the United Nations opened emergency session number 1038 to discuss the escalating regional crisis following the Haifa attack. The UN Secretary-General called it a turning point, warning that if tensions aren't diffused immediately, the region could plunge into full-scale war. Iran, for its part, said it's ready to defend all of its allies and warned Israel not to keep playing with fire. Meanwhile, Israel released new satellite images showing increased ballistic missile activity at air bases in Syria and Iran's Kermanshah province, believed to be the original launch points. Israel's defense minister appeared on TV with a fiery statement, "We've been brutally attacked. We will respond. The world will understand the price of Israeli blood is non-negotiable." With thousands of soldiers now mobilized, military bases across Israel have gone into full combat readiness. The Israeli Air Force is running intense patrols along the Lebanese and Syrian borders. Merkava tanks have been moved to the Golan Heights, and Jericho 3 ballistic missiles are now on high alert. Observers say the world is teetering in a grey zone, one misstep away from an all-out war between the Iran-Syria axis and Israel. Many are reminded of the 2006 conflict, but the Haifa strike of 2025 is expected to be far more destructive and wide-reaching. And in the middle of all this chaos, one question hangs heavy in the air. Is this the beginning of a real Middle East war? The world is once again staring down the barrel of one of its oldest and most painful realities, war. But this time, it's not just about missiles and military strategy, it's about human lives shattered in moments. Haifa isn't just a port anymore, it's become a symbol of a deeper question. How long will war remain the language of a so-called advanced world? As the ship sank and silence fell among the soldiers, all that remained were tears on the dock and a stillness waiting for the next move. Maybe wars never truly end, but we still have a choice. Do we want to be part of the fire, or the light trying to